symmetrical. Can you read the first 6 and then everybody else will read 5? That way, so just take us from 49 to 55, and then we'll pick up, and we'll do it in PTR order. Got about 1 minute. John, go ahead. Take it away, sir.
Okay, so I like to, think about this as like a meditation. So, take the deepest breath of the day, hold it for 10 seconds. This is the 49th Tao. The master has no mind of her own. She works with the mind of the people. She is good to people who are good. She is also good to people who aren't good. This is true goodness. She trusts people who are trustworthy. She also trusts people who aren't trustworthy. This is true trust. The master's mind is like space. People don't understand her. They look to her and wait. She treats them like her own children. The master gives himself up to whatever the moment brings. He knows that he is going to die. He doesn't think about his actions. They flow from the core of his being. He holds nothing back in life. Therefore, he is ready for death. It springs into existence, unconscious, perfect, free, takes on a physical body. Let circumstances complete it. That is why every being spontaneously honors the Tao. Easy, yet people prefer the side paths. Be aware when things are out of balance. Stay centered within the Tao. When rich speculators prosper, while farmers lose their land, when government officials spend money on weapons instead of cures, when the upper class is extravagant and irresponsible, while the poor have nowhere to turn up. Whoever embraces the Tao will not slip away. Her name will be held in honor from generation to generation. Let the Tao be present in your life, and you will become genuine. Let it be present in your family, and your family will flourish. Let it be present in your country, and your country will be an example to all countries in the world. Let it be present in the universe, and the universe will sing. How do I know this is true? By looking inside myself. He who is in harmony with the Tao is like a so effortlessly, without desire. Never expects results, thus he is never disappointed. He is never disappointed, thus his spirit never grows old.
All right, that was good. That was good. I'm gonna go. So I started 56, I believe. Let me get there. Hold on. When I unmuted myself, I looked myself out of the link. Sorry for the delay, guys. Okay. Those who know do not talk. Those who talk don't know. Close your mouth. Block off your senses. Blunt your sharpness. Untie your knots. Soften your glare. Settle your dust. This is the primal identity to follow the Tao. Stop trying to control. Let go of fixed plans and concepts, and the world will govern itself. The less self-reliant people will be. Therefore, the Master says, I let go of the law, and people become honest. I let go of economics, and people become prosperous. I let go of religion, and people become serene. I let go of all desires for the common. If a country is governed with repression, the people are depressed and crafty. When the will to power is in charge, the higher, and you lay the groundwork for vice. Thus the Master is content to serve as an example, and not to impose her will. She is pointed, but doesn't pierce, straightforward, but supple, radiant, but easy on the eyes. For governing a country well, there is nothing better than moderation. The mark of a moderate man is the freedom from his own ideas, tolerant like the sky, all-pervading like the sunlight, firm like a mountain, supple like a tree in the wind. He has no destination in view and makes use of anything. Life happens to bring his way. Nothing is impossible for him because he has let it go. He can care for the people's welfare as a mother cares for a child. Governing a country Governing a large country is like frying a small fish. You spoil it with too much poking. Center your country in the Tao, and evil will have no power. Not that it isn't there, but you'll be able to step out of its way. Give evil nothing to oppose, and it will dissipate. Great power, it becomes like the sea. All streams run downward into it. The more powerful it grows, the greater the need for humility. Humility means trusting the Tao, thus never needing to be defensive. A great nation is like a great man. When he makes a mistake, he realizes it. Having realized it, he admits it. Having admitted it, he corrects it. He considers those who point out his flaws as the most benevolent teachers. He thinks of his enemy as the shadow that he himself casts. If a nation is centered in the Tao, if it nourishes its own people, I gotta scroll down, and doesn't meddle in the affairs of others, it will be a light to all nations in the world. 62. The Tao is the center of the universe, the good man's treasure, the bad man's refuge. Honors can be bought with fine words. Respect can be won with good deeds. But the Tao is beyond all value, and no one can achieve it. Thus, when a new leader is chosen, don't offer to help him with your wealth or export of the small as large and the few as few. Confront the difficult while it is still easy. Accomplish the great task by a series of small acts. The master never reaches for the great. Thus, she achieves greatness. When she runs into difficulty, she stops and gives herself to it. She doesn't cling to her own comfort. Thus, problems are no problem for her. 64. What is rooted is easy to nourish. What is recent is easy to correct. What is brittle is easy to break. What is small is easy to scatter. Prevent trouble before it arises. Put things in order before they exist. The giant pine tree grows from a tiny sprout. The journey of 1,000 miles starts from beneath your feet. Rushing into action, you fail. Trying to grasp things, you lose them. Forcing a project to completion, you ruin what was almost ripe. Therefore, the master takes action by letting things take their course. He remains as calm at the end as at the beginning. 65. The ancient masters didn't try to educate the people, but kindly taught them to not know. When they think that they know the answers, people are difficult to guide. When they know that they don't know, people can find their own way. If you want to learn how to govern, avoid being clever or rich. The simplest pattern is the clearest. Content with an ordinary life, you can show all people the way back to their own true nature. Awesome. Brad, you want to jump in at 66?
Give me a second here. What do you want me to read? Chapter 66? All right, here we go. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
All streams flow to the sea because it is lower than they are. Humility gives it power. If you want to govern people, you must place yourself below them. If you want to lead the people, you must learn how to follow them. The master is above the people, and no one feels oppressed. She goes ahead of the people, and no one feels manipulated. The whole world is grateful to her because she competes with no one. Because she competes with no one can compete with her. Did you need me to go on?
Yes, please. If you read to number 70, that would be great.
Oh, shit. All right. Wow. Some say that my teaching is nonsense. Others call it lofty but impractical. But to those who have looked inside themselves, this simplicity, patience, compassion, these three are your greatest treasures. Simple in actions and in thoughts, you return to the source of being. Patient in the do it in the spirit of play. In this, they are like children, and in harmony with the Tao. Okay. The generals have a saying: rather than make the first move, it is better to wait and see. Rather than advance an inch, it is better to retreat a yard. This is called going forward without advancing, pushing back without using weapons. There is no greater misfortune than understanding your enemy. Underestimating your enemy means thinking that he knows how to yield.
All right, let's. Brad stopped at 69. Hakima, you want to start
I
with
thought you
70?
said this stopped at 70. Did you need me to go on?
Yeah, you went through 69, did you not?
Yeah, I did 69. You stopped at 70.
Okay, that's fine. Hakima, go ahead and give us the next 5.
My teachings are easy to understand, easy to put into practice. Your intellect will never grasp them. And if you try to practice them, you fail. My teachers are older than the world. How can you grasp their meaning? If you want to know me, look inside your heart. Not knowing is true knowledge. Presuming to know is disease. First realize that you are sick. Then you can move toward health. The master is her own physician. She has healed herself of all knowing. Themselves, they begin to depend upon authority. The master and master. The people want you without. The doubt is always at ease. It overcomes without competing, answers without speaking a word, arrives without being summoned, accomplishes without a plan. It never covers the whole universe, and though it meshes are wide, it doesn't let a thing slip through. If you realize that all things change, there's nothing you would try to hold on to. If you aren't afraid of dying, there's nothing you can achieve. Trying to control the future is like trying to take the master carpenter's plate. When you handle the master carpenter's tools, chances are that you'll cut yourself.
All right, very cool. Angel, can you pick up where he left off?
75, right?
Correct. Yeah, just and why don't we do this, because we've got a few people on. Just read 3, then we'll go to B Master. Just read 3 of them, and then we'll go to B Master.
Just 3, okay. Okay, gotcha. When taxes are too high, people go hungry. When the government is too instructive, people lose their spirit. Act for the people's benefit. Trust them. Leave them alone. Men are born soft and supple. Dead, they are stiff and hard. Plants are born tender and pliant. Dead, they are brittle and dry. Thus, whoever is stiff and inflexible is a disciple of death. Whoever is soft and yielding is a disciple of life. The hard and stiff will be broken. The soft and supple will prevail. As it acts in the world, the towel is like bending of a bow. As it acts in the world, the towel is like the bending of a bow. The top is bent downward. The bottom is bent up. It is and gives to what isn't enough. Those who try to control, who use force to protect their power, go against because there is no end to her wealth. She acts without expectation, succeeds without taking credit, and doesn't think that she is better.
B Master, you with us?
Sure.
Perfect. Give us 3.
Okay. Hold on, I had to close it out. I gotta go back to it. Okay. To unmute myself. Nothing in the world. Nothing in the world is as soft and yielding as water. Yet, for dissolving the hard and inflexible, nothing can surpass it. The soft overcomes the hard. The gentle overcomes the rigid. Everyone knows this is true, but few can put it into practice. Therefore, the master remains serene in the midst of sorrow. Evil cannot enter his heart, because he has given up helping. He is people's greatest help. True words seem paradoxical. Failure is an opportunity. If you blame someone else, she does what she needs to do and demands nothing of others. If a country is governed wisely, it's in travel. There may be a few wagons and boats, but these don't go anywhere. There may be an arsenal of weapons, but nobody ever uses them. People enjoy their food, take pleasure in being with their families, spend weekends working in their gardens, delight in the doings of the neighborhood. And even though the next country is so close that people can hear its roosters crowing and its dogs barking, they are content to die of old age without ever having gone to see it. I think that's 3.
Do you know what number?
80.
Next, Monica.
The words? Oh, I was.
Okay, sorry.
True words aren't eloquent. Eloquent word has no possessions. The more he does for others, the happier he is. The more he gives to others, the wealthier he is. The Tao nourishes by not forcing, by not dominating, the master leads. Would you like me to read the notes? Sure. Okay, well, that's a lot of notes. I can do chapter 1.
I don't think you have to read the notes.
Okay.
Just go to the next
That's it?
chapter. Yeah.
No,
We're reading 3 each.
that's it. And now it's on the chapters now. Yeah.
Yeah, we're through those verses. So why don't we just take this opportunity? We got about 9 minutes before the next room starts, and let's just talk about what we've read.
I think the Tao would be an anarchist, reparationist.
Yes.
And I also feel like it was written for today. Like it don't seem like it's written on the.
For a while ago, I agree with that sentiment. Yeah, I agree with that sentiment.
Wait, you think the Tao that inspired communist China is anarchist?
Yeah, that would sound. It sounded like it.
Phenomenal. John, what do you think? It sounded to me like it's not making a position. It's actually, the lesson is supposed to be that.
If you're right, you're wrong, and if you're wrong, you might be right. It's more of just letting go and just letting things be, which also means, the idea of getting rid of government is just as wrong as creating a more powerful government. John, what do you think?
Yeah, I think it's a very, very smart book, and so it's so universal that I'm not trying to offend you, Hakima, but I think people project onto it what they want to see. And the unfortunate reversal of your position, Hakima, or people who believe that it's an anarchist book or communistic book, it's a governance book. So whoever is rising to power or in power will utilize the wisdom to manage the situation. Positions and words, it's what they call a book. But again, it's a very smart book. And one of the reasons why it's so smart is because so many people have read it.
No, sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna, you can go. I was just gonna say, I'm like in the middle of like my work day, so I'm like trying to rush through, what you guys are reading. I'm looking, I'm listening, and I'm like, oh, maybe I might look.
Bad things, personal, yeah. But you're definitely right. That book needs to be read a couple times to get it, because the book is saying a lot. It's not just saying I'm anarchist. It's saying way more than that. You know what I'm saying? And not that definitely. It's not definitely saying.
That's it. That's all I want to say. It's very reflective read.
I love that the part that Fatima wrote was exactly what her life looks like.
Right?
I thought that was so cool.
I missed the part about a bag of dicks.
Oh. I don't understand what.
It was a pot shot for me. It's okay. Yeah. Anything else, Mark? I'm sorry, I don't want to cut you off.
You have the farm kind of like situation.
Wait, I think Angel wanted to speak too. Angel, go ahead, Angel. I cut you off. I'm sorry if you're there.
I was just gonna say that I would like to do a combination of this book and the 48 Laws of Power. Kind of read them simultaneously. if I could run through.
Sorry.
Just to comment on how short the book was. Go ahead, Bima.
No, I just wanted to say, I'm trying to remember, I don't remember where, but the things that I took from it, I said to myself, remember the spicy, and it was, that is blank started, it's just like, failures and opportunity, like, look for blank started, it's just like, failures and opportunity, like, look for the opportunity, because as soon as you're starting to blame somebody, then it's just going to enjoy everything to, like, all of this, it's so beautiful, it felt like, I felt everything to, like, all of this, it's so beautiful, it felt like, I felt that peace, and I just thought that was so cool. The other, something in humility. I thought they were such great. Oh, the rigid giving, and it speaks life, and that was inspiring for me. I'm just like, yeah, you know what? That's a great. Instead of being frustrated and being like, okay, no, this. I didn't get my way, But then it's like, wait a second. If you flow, and you could just like have this flow with. I just thought that was so cool. Yeah, so it was like this, I just thought that was so cool. Yeah, so it was like this softness, so being gentle and pliable, being able to.
This is the first time that I've ever come into this space. This is the first time that I've ever come into this space and you guys are reading.
We started it yesterday. It's a 2-day tradition.
I'm glad I'm not.
Can I ask, how do people feel, reading or listening to a wisdom book versus listening to road rage conversations? Like, what do you think might be better for your mental health or mental diet? It's just a question I'm asking.
I like a healthy mix of both. A little chaos, a little drama, a little intellect. I actually like that right before it, we had the crash out room. And so then we read, and now we're going into the rational discussion group. I feel like we're giving people a little bit of each. They want all of these things. But as we learned yesterday, you can't eat your cake and have it too.
Well, one of the things that I've kind of taken an observation of this application is that chaotic and drama and whatever have you is stuff that is outdated. It's old stuff that people have.
Transitioning over to the national discourse room.
We're having a conversation. We've got until 2 p.m. Pacific time to start the chat. We just like to start this a little early because it gives people a head start. So people that might have been thinking about going into the room that doesn't have a chat would be persuaded to come to our room. So let's bring people up. Let's see. Deep into the topic because I want to kind of hold off until Hans and others get here, and then we'll get going.
Hey, Brad, I really enjoyed your reading of that book. It's one of my favorite books. I thank you for reading it. And I think that when a lot of people heard you, reading from a book, everybody was, titillated. Let's just put it that way.
Uses a lot of hyperbole to say, hey, we could just be better. But in reality, it takes none of the constructs from everyday life and applies them.
Friends in the group.
Revised in multiple languages. And just like the Bible, it has phrases and translations that are taken out of context or what others have applied, even in the book you have. I think Lewis highlights this most adeptly. I might have the book title wrong, but I think it's the Green Book. In his review of the title, he highlights some of those more prominent narratives. John, so, I mean, it is what it is, but I've never been a big philosopher fan. Moral high ground usually from a place of comfort, and usually from a life that is provided for them, and they don't really truly go out and experience the world. Similar to Marx, he was always cared for by somebody else. He lived off of a rich friend, and I don't take a lot of what they say seriously.
I just want to welcome people. We do have about 6 minutes before we officially kick this stuff off, but we got an interesting topic. We got a poll up top if people want to respond to it. Topic of the room: should Ukraine give up land to Russia? The choices are not one single inch. If it saves lives, sure, or it belongs to Russia. If you've got other thoughts on that, you can put those in the chat. If you want to talk about this topic, go ahead and raise your hand. We're gonna just kind of keep some small talk going until it's time to get going. Once we hit 2:00, I'll let my friend Anson here just kind of get us started with his initial thoughts on what he thinks about the topic. But let's just have a little bit of small talk, and I'll let you guys know at 2:00, and Anson will get us kicked off.
Just to clarify for me, Roger, that tax thing is off the table for today, or did I get the date wrong?
It was supposed to be today, but Alan didn't message me, so I don't know exactly what happened with that. It might have happened while we were crashing out in the other room, so we may have missed it.
Okay.
Because Alan had popped into that other room, and then he disappeared, so we may have missed it. Oh, we got Abby here. Hopefully she comes up. That would be great.
I'd like to give a little bit of a reminder for hydration. Drink your water.
Or Diet Coke.
Whatever liquid makes you happy.
Abby, you missed some fun rooms earlier. We had a good mix of crashing out and reconciliation. I think some progress was made in that other room. I don't know if you guys agree.
Who were the actors?
Brad was probably the star of the show today. I would have to say, Brad, were you the star of the show today?
I suppose.
Yeah, Brad was in Brad form. Let's just put it that way. He was Brad now.
I'm saluting you, Brad, from here.
Okay, we got a few minutes. We're going to let some people pile in. I'm going to send out some invites so we can get the room populated. Abby, you've been missing our reading rooms. We've been reading out loud to each other, and we got through a book over the last couple of days. We're going to start doing this every single day, but I think you would be a welcome addition there. Be nice.
Are you reading like Lady Chatterley's Lover, or like what are we reading?
John, would you like to share?
Is John here?
Yeah, we read Lao Tzu's Tao Te Ching, ancient Chinese philosophy book about the Tao. It's about governance, philosophy, wisdom, mystical approach to dealing with complexities. Some critique was that it's the inspiration for the communist revolution and that it's actually an anarchical book. But I do think in Saul Dialinsky's book, he also references it in Rules for Radicals. So I think it's an important, document to study because it's useful in terms of either knowing the enemy or knowing yourself. So that's the book we completed today. It took us 2 days to read it.
That sounds fantastic. I mean, it sounds like it's knowing your enemy, the art of war.
That'll be our next book, by the way, Abby.
Yeah, Rules for Radical, that's an excellent choice.
No, the next book's going to be The Art of War.
Can I add a book to the book? Since there's so many people, like we used to have them, I don't know if they exist on here, but there's so many people that espouse these grand ideas about anarchy, socialism. Why not throw Joseph Stalin's book up there? Leninism. Why not?
His daughter's a review of Stalin up there. This will give insight to a lot of how some of those virtue signaling policies lead to the outcome under Stalin.
Yeah, I think the art of the deal would be another fun one here, just because of the divisiveness around the author. I want to turn this over to Anson. Anson, the topic of the room, should Ukraine give up land to Russia? Why don't you go ahead and kick us off with some initial thoughts? And I like the framing that you do of these conversations, so if you want to do that, that'd be great.
There's a very expensive clock.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you, yes.
Okay.
Uh-oh, I think you're doing the glitch where it mutes you, because you started speaking and then you muted yourself. All right, we'll okay, are you back? You may have to leave and come back, Anson. You may have to leave and come back to correct that. There we go. We'll get him back here. And then typically when we do these rooms, Anson just likes to get everybody to agree, is there a problem? And then we kind of go from there with opinions. Anson, go ahead. You're still muted, buddy. All right, I guess we'll get started without him. And when he comes back, we'll welcome him to jump back in. The question for the room, should Ukraine give up land to Russia?
Can you unmute yourself and try to talk? And again, there you go. I think you're back. Or maybe not. All right, I'm just going to get us started, and then, Anson, you'll have to figure out your technical challenges. We'll definitely welcome you once you do. So, should Ukraine give up land to Russia? I think we have to ask ourselves, what is at stake? On one hand, you have a tyrannical leader who is invaded his neighboring country, who's trying to invade a sovereign nation in Europe. And then, on the other hand, you have the reality that in order for Ukraine to continue this fight, they're going to have to be highly subsidized by the United States, European allies, in order to continue to wage this war. Now, the people in Ukraine may want to fight, but in order to do so, in order to have a chance, they do need the right weapons in order to sustain the fight. So this brings in lots of questions. I think that it's righteous to fight against these tyrannical Russian bullies. There might be a practical piece, though, where lives could be saved. And so I think the conversation today is really to figure out what precedent does it set if an invading force could then get land and get the nation that was attacked to surrender land. Is that a wise thing to do? Those are my questions. And Anson, let's see if you're back and see if you got a microphone.
Okay. Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you. Thank God.
Okay. I'm not going to vote yet. I want to hear what the room has to say. You're right. There's the altruistic. No way are we going to let Russia get away with it, and we're going to fight until we drive them back to their original borders before 2014, including Crimea. But I don't think how that is possible in any way, shape, or form, other than NATO entering the war full scale. So I don't see any conceivable way, other than the collapse of Russia, that we strangle them for so long with sanctions and all the other things. But how long is that going to take? Years, in my opinion, particularly as long as they have the support from China anytime in the coming several years. So if we want peace, Ukraine's going to have to give up land. But if you want to stand on principle, then keep fighting, and God help Ukraine. Because I don't see a way to bring it to a conclusion other than on the battlefield. Did everybody hear what I said?
I think they did. Yeah, let's go ahead and get some thoughts. I'd love to hear, Brad. What do you think of what Ansel laid out?
I think he articulated the problem very well. You've got two choices right now. We're aware that Zelensky has gone through about 92% of his resources and capabilities that he has been offered. Tactics are subpar at best. It seems that Russia was doing a different timing campaign and about some of the tactics they wanted to take. And despite some of the tactics that they did take, it still has not relented with Russia. Zelensky now is in forced conscript. He's waived a lot of, quote, Ukraine constitutional, end quote, powers. He's removed those from the country at large. You have ongoing protests, which the citizenry does not seem to be happy with a lot of his decisions. We have questions about where the aid is going. Right now, I would, due to the Ukraine's ability, you've lost. I don't know how to put it simply, unless the U.S., NATO, European nations are willing to put boots on the ground, and the only nation that I think was willing to really truly do that was Poland at the time, until some stuff went awry on between Ukraine and Poland, particularly over the agricultural treaty and some of the weapons. I don't see where Ukraine comes out on top. My one thing would be, how much are you going to lose by and Ukrainians? However, you just do not have the capabilities to resist them. And your problem was just believing that the U.S. was going to be there at your defense should this happen. I don't know what to tell you. I'm sorry that you fell for it. But the U.S. is not going to put boots on the ground to go fight war with the likes of Russia for the next 20 years. So, honestly, right now, to save what they have left as a civilization,
have the might to do so that they ought to?
No, I don't think it's on a moral front. This is the problem with wars. Everybody tries to apply a moral stance. It's your country, it's your nation, it's your house, it's your territory. If you can hold it, if you can maintain it, it's your house as long as you can pay the mortgage and the taxes. The minute you can't, someone else takes it from you. So this is the way they're caught in a very bad spot. And I don't think it's right of Russia. But at the onset, the U.S. shouldn't have held up weapon systems if they were so worried about it for 6 months. That occurred under Biden's administration. He held back weapons. He held back supplies. He held back things. Ukraine does not have the capabilities to go much longer. I would say maybe a couple of years. They could probably put up an IRA type style resistance, and that's a shame because the U.S. fucked up. We did another Vietnam, except we put it in Ukraine.
Hey, moderators, this is John. I'm ready to go. If you can put me in the queue.
Yeah, please do. Jump in.
So I use X. My account is in my profile. It's John Kitover, IL for Illinois. These are the queries I asked Grok on X Spaces. Hey, Grok, tell me the Ukrainian and Russian war casualties. The latest estimates, June of 2025, Russia had 250,000 killed, 950,000 total casualties. Ukraine military had 100,000 killed, 400,000 total in the war so far. Civilians, 13,000 killed and 33,000 injured. The top battles are Bakhmut, Mariupol, to the contrarian position of why Zelensky should step down as president and give up land to Ukraine for a lasting peace. This is what Grok says. This is the contrarian view. Polls saves lives and the economy. His expired term erodes legitimacy. Resignation enables pragmatic successor for honored peace deal backed by Rubio.
Or maybe there's some shit. But in reality, accept the terms now and then wait till Putin's dead and then seek pressure to basically get those territories back under Ukraine. That's the best avenue that I see for Ukraine currently, and I don't know if Captain agrees with that.
I'm still waiting to hear somebody to suggest that the moral route is the only route possible, and therefore the war must continue, but with more money, more weapons, more whatever other than boots on the ground from NATO, which would include the United States. Can anybody make a rational argument for a line there? But certainly he's not going to give up Crimea. He's not going to give up Sevastopol. All of those things. Very unlikely, but conceivably his overthrow by the Russian people, unless somebody has a crystal ball. Dilemma, you've got the moral construct to keep fighting. We are in the right, therefore we're going to wait for the equivalent of Washington crossing the Delaware and Valley Forge, or on the yards, not miles, to a degree, but would be a hell of a lot worse than what the current situation is. So again, this is morality versus practicality, and I sure wonder urgently that we take advantage of the opportunity to weaken them. That we take advantage of the opportunity to weaken them. It will never get less expensive in terms of American dollars if the goal of the West, American dollars, if the goal of the West is to weaken Russia, specifically their military might. But I think it's something to consider is that if we might be looking at this as a gift, and the longer it goes on, sure, it's expensive, but it's less expensive than any direct conflict with them. And Russia will never be the same after this conflict. I mean, make no mistake, between their birth rate and their immigration policies, they didn't have the luxury to lose soldiers.
So they got in no great position themselves. So, but I don't think Trump, for the reason that they're not in a great position, I think that's why Trump is not going to help Ukraine. I believe that he supports Russia.
Wait, did I just hear you say give them what they want?
I have some issues with Putin saying I have some issues with Putin saying the idea that he's going to march into Kiev. I'm confused from the start of the battle plan. He employed Hannibal's old tactics of the try whatever you call it, going around each side. Employed Hannibal's old tactics of the try whatever you call it, going around each side. But unfortunately, he never carpet bombed anything, and we're aware that they could have done it. He didn't destroy water supplies. He didn't destroy necessarily oil reserves. He didn't really interfere with electrical areas, and he left the western corridors open in Ukraine. This has always been puzzling to me because it just seemed like a ploy to have Ukraine just kind of sue for peace quickly, but it may have been just part of Putin's grand plan, knowing that the U.S. was going to provide aid, Europe was going to provide some financial assistance, and that this was going to be a war of attrition. Because when he actually set his lines, he parked them very distinctly and very permanently right now. What will be in war, because the first thing you would do would be to cut off supplies. You would try to cut off lifelines, so you would prevent the funneling of supplies coming in. And Putin never did that. I don't know if it's a lack of their capabilities, but what he wants is just the section that's going to be rich, and he does not want the U.S. to be or any Western alliance to be in control over those areas. and he doesn't want the access to the sea ports, the deep water ports, to be hindered by anybody, particularly Ukraine, who's vying to join alliances with Europe and the U.S., make broader trade agreements. And the only reason I say this is like when Kazakhstan says and Eastern ones. So I think it's more about economics and the potential for the money for Russia taking Kiev. He didn't have to hold back, and he could have cut off the airdrops. He could have cut off even the western routes that brought supplies in, and he could have cut off the energy and water sections, and he never did. I don't know if he's just dumb. Also, Putin's like what, 75 years old? He is technically going to be dead. Like let's call it what it is. I mean, unless there's some miracle cure in Russia that keeps guys, forever 150 years old. I mean, he is getting older. He is going to be prone to infirmities that affect old age. He's going to be prone to sicknesses. At some point, the man is going to die and have to relinquish power. I doubt he makes it to 2030, but we can see. I mean, he could be 80 years old. It's not unheard of, but I just don't see him retaining power that long.
I just think he wants a legacy. He wants a baby dynasty. Hopefully he goes through it.
So, how did you vote, Brad? Are you saying don't give an inch and continue the war with the expectation that we can wear Russia down and drive them back to pre-2014 boundaries? Is that what you're suggesting is the best route to go?
No, I'm saying that they should accept the agreement on the table and try to. Zelensky has not fortified his infrastructure to a military footprint that is needed to win this war. He just has not.
Okay, I tend to agree with that. But the poll doesn't allow me to do it because let's say this line, and both sides agree that they're not going to try to advance across the current lines. But a peace treaty will not be signed by Ukraine until Russia cedes all the land that Ukraine claimed. In other words, do we go now for a Korean War situation? And if so, who is going to man those battle lines or be held in reserve with massive power to prevent a resurgence by Russia a year, 2 years, 5 years from now to restart the war? In other words, is it going to be American troops sitting somewhere encamped along the Dnieper River? Or somewhere in western Ukraine? Or is it going to be NATO troops? In other words, is a Korean War situation something that we should hope to achieve now in order to stop the war and stop the killing, but not signing a peace treaty that would legally de jure? In other words, Russia gets the current land de facto, but they're not allowed to get it de jure in accordance with a peace treaty that Ukraine would sign with Russia. And would Putin even agree to such an armistice without a de jure secession of some land on the part of Ukraine? Again, it's a tough nut to crack.
I mean, I'm not saying Zelensky should just give away the driveway and the garage and without receiving anything in return. I think Zelensky could ask for a NATO base directly in Ukraine. It could be one of his precursors. Whether or not the powers that be will agree to that seems to be more on the table. And if I was Zelensky, I would be asking for that. I would say, hey, this is what my nation needs. Here's what we need as people. I need trade agreements for, grain, production and manufacturing. here, I want these also on the table with this, and then I want the assurances in a treaty stating that if Russia breaks these lines, then you are going to definitely put boots on the ground. I'm not saying we should put boots on the ground, but this would be me as Zelensky saying, hey, I want NATO here, and in case they break that, I want you to go toe-to-toe with us to repel Russia. And you know, if they violate this peace treaty, we're going all the way. We are not holding back. We're not holding just into our territory. We will attack all the way to Moscow. And I would put that clearly on the table and say, here, this is the agreement we'll reach to. I would put the NATO nations in a corner. That's just me playing Zelensky.
That's you playing Zelensky, but I don't think Putin would even dream of signing an armistice that would allow NATO troops to enter Ukraine and be prepared for military action. That's almost the equivalent of allowing Ukraine to come close to agreeing to an armistice, a cessation, stop shooting at each other. If the prospect is going to be a de facto presence in Ukraine, much less a Ukraine membership in NATO, Putin would just keep on fighting. Russia would just keep on fighting if that was proposed by, say, Trump or the United States or even NATO on Friday. Do you agree with that?
I agree that Putin wouldn't take it, but then we're forgetting about one big thing with the Russian people, because they're not immune to this, would be the optic war. That all of a sudden there's a chance for peace. Would Putin start to receive pushback from his own people, particularly the military, at the numbers he's losing, the number that are wounded, and the numbers that are returning? Would he end up being forced to accept something along these lines? Because, again, the Russian people also want peace. They're tired of the war too. So, I mean, it would be like boxing Putin into a corner. And Zelensky could come out looking like a hero. Putin can come out looking like a hero temporarily. And the U.S. and NATO looks like they fulfilled their obligations at some point. So, I mean, if I was Zelensky, I'd be playing hardball. I would put everybody in a corner, and I would put them all in a box and say, here, this is what we're going to agree to. Because right now, he has nothing to lose. It's either the war keeps fighting, he loses more territory, or, you know, he accepts terms of a peace agreement, and Putin's gotta obey at least somewhat the will of his own people.
Well, this has devolved into Anson and Brad, two military guys, discussion back and forth. And
let's throw one more in there then. How you guys doing? Ironically, Anson, I have a personal question. You wouldn't happen to be a descendant of Anson Burlingame, the minister to China under Lincoln, would you? If so, that would be pretty awesome. I think that I've listened to the conversation.
I have a picture that was taken last fall in Faneuil Hall in Boston, and it shows a big picture of that Anson Burlingame that was during the Lincoln administration of the Civil War, and me at age 82 in front of that picture.
I might have missed it. So are you a descendant of his?
Yes, I am. Not a direct. He branched off, so he and I were great cousins or something like that.
Oh, well, that's pretty interesting. To this point of the conversation, I think that a lot of people forget something, right? And that's that Putin is an old KGB guy, right? And he mainly controls government and all kinds of other levers in the country of Russia. And what I mean by that is that it is an optical war for him. If he could come out of this looking like or phrasing the argument in front of his people that, hey, I won or I got something or I bested them, I think he's willing to do whatever. I think both men, Putin and Zelensky, they are leaders, right? They're willing to lose people. They're willing to die, and they will sleep like babies about it. I think that who has the capacity to withstand longer? That's right, Crimea. They held out for long as they could, and they still were annexed by Russia. And so maybe it might be time to cut a deal, right? So Putin's not, I do believe he still plays 3D, 4D level chess. He always has, and I think he always will. But sometimes, even when the facts are not on his side, if he could turn the optics on his side, I think he'd be willing to cut a deal to get on up out of there. But, we'll see.
So I changed my vote, right? Initially, so the question is, should Ukraine give up land to Russia? Initially, I said if it saves lives, sure. But after listening to Anson and Brad speak, and then while they were talking, I read on PBS that according to a May 2025 poll, 55% of Ukrainians oppose ceding land, right? So I'm wondering what role does public sentiment kind of play, or should public sentiment play in Zelensky's decisions regarding this? Because considering how many lives have been lost, the public might perceive, giving up the land, ceding territory as a form of betraying the sacrifices of the civilians and the soldiers. People have lost their lives. So I'm wondering if, public sentiment should be considered here in his decisions. And how much influence should foreign powers have in Ukraine's decision? That's a question that I have for all the politically savvy minds on the stage.
Well, what do you suggest, and why? What do you suggest foreign powers, which specifically, I think you mean the United States, and let's don't even differentiate between NATO and the United States. Let's just say NATO, because right now I think Trump and NATO are singing from the same sheet of music. So for simplicity's sake, let's just say, what more can NATO do to allow the war to continue with a rational goal that is different from the current status quo and more in favor of Ukraine? I don't know what else NATO can do other than intervene militarily. I just don't see this thing ending until it's decided on the battlefield, not by public opinion or by Henry Kissinger or any other of the international greats in negotiating peace. I don't know. I just don't see a way forward that is going to keep Russia in a Russian box the way NATO and public opinion certainly wants it to be, and that Russian box goes all the way back to pre-2014 boundaries. I'm still waiting for. I wish there was somebody in here that was super woke, hates Trump, and says here is the clear. Trump's an idiot. He should just bow out and do nothing. And here is the path forward in order for Ukraine to stand tall and Russia not gain any land. I want to hear somebody tell me how that could possibly happen. And I don't see anybody on the stage or in the audience that seems ready to rise to that challenge.
Right? If the United States stops helping Ukraine, let them win or lose on their own. Right? Let's see what happens.
We did. In other words, can you imagine if Trump comes back from this Friday, he comes back from that conference with Putin and says, that's it, we're out of it, we're going to stop providing anything or any military support for Ukraine, and we're going to let the decision stay on the battlefield. My God, this country would erupt if that happened.
I don't think so. I don't think we care. I know it's people tend to think we're in a war, and the United States is not in a war. I've been in a few. We ain't in a war, right? We are aiding a country, and knowing Donald, and to keep in mind politically, I generally do not say to pull out. That's totally within the realm of possibility, and the average American doesn't care. People have opinions. We have in these social media rooms, but people don't. It's not as important to the American people because I'm sorry, because it doesn't affect us. It's not as
profitable for our government, and because it's profitable for our government, and because this war doesn't seemingly directly impact your average American,
But then there's also a third that no matter what Trump does, they're going to criticize every move he makes. And I think anything he does, he's damned if he does, because you've got enemies that are committed to trying to take him down, right, wrong, or indifferent. I mean, you got to remember, they tried to keep him off the ballot, they tried to throw him in jail, and they tried to kill him. You think they're not going to criticize his decisions on war and peace?
well. I won't jump into that combo, Mojo, and it's your room. But speaking of your dirt, I think to that point, I think Hansen has great experience and things like that. I just people out in the streets, Israel and Gaza, that can literally not tear the country apart, but it can definitely have an effect. Seriously,
I would say that a lot of those polls seem to be targeted, even those that are on the other side want a peace. But I do hear from more and more representatives, particularly in the UN, who are bringing this up, that they are to rush out there and defend the homeland. And I think that's, like, if I look at those numbers and I look at some of that reporting, and then I get tired of it. They don't want to be bombed anymore. They don't want to see their relatives come back. Then there isn't this world push that Ukraine status numbers that are fleeing into Europe that's actually causing consternation in those areas. I think is now more prevalent that more than half the country is now at a point where they just want it all to stop. They don't care what the outcome is at this point. They just want it to stop.
Marshall, do you have anything you want to say? Can you bring anything over from what the sentiments might be over in the critical thinking forum? I mean, we're kind of stuck here between the practical side and the moral side. You got anything to add to this conversation? Marshall?
Sorry, Anson, I didn't hear you. Say again.
Do you have anything? We're kind of stuck between the moral imperative of don't give them an inch and drive Russia back to the pre-2014 boundaries, and the practical side that there's no way in hell to do that unless NATO puts massive boots on the ground and we essentially go to war with Russia. And we seem to be, and there's the aim to anybody to continue to fight the war. And what insights can you bring over from it?
You made the point that most of the time countries in history take land through conquest, which is we're no longer Ronald Reagan's military. We have to pick and choose where we put our resources. China's a much bigger threat overall than Russia is. Russia's still a near-peer competitor as defense estimates rank it. But I think we need to focus on our main peer competitor, not the second-tier competitor. While I think supplying these folks with weapons through the Europeans is probably a decent idea, we're not going to go to war. There's not an appetite for that in the United States. And so we're essentially stuck between having a long, drawn-out meat grinder like Korea and just letting it all go. I think the meat grinder probably takes more Russian lives